Good morning.
Hello. Happy Tax Day Eve.
Almost. Yeah. Getting close again.
Yeah. Well, we get an extra day thanks to Good Friday this
3
year.
out of it, right?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
You know,
That's
if you haven't
really
done your
good.
taxes yet, don't stress too much. You got till Monday.
Yeah.
You can spend your weekend doing it.
We always love it around tax time, don't we?
Oh, it's so great.
Oh, it's a piece of cake. We're resting. We're on lounge chairs. It's just fabulous. There's nothing to do. You know, it's a piece of cake, right?
I know. Let's get
Phones
on with this.
never
We got stuff
ring.
to do.
People are so easygoing. They're so happy because they have big tax bills to pay.
Yeah,
and
everyone's
stuff.
so happy.
Oh,
this
they're
time
so
of year.
happy.
I'm
Yeah, so-
thrilled.
Yeah, I'm just elated. Yeah, right.
Sarcasm abounds.
But on the other hand, you look a little rested.
Yeah,
What's
I
that
chose
all
to take a
about?
vacation last week, which just made everything even more pleasant for tax time. But
That's great.
I took my children, 6 and 3, to Puerto Rico, and it was phenomenal time. The
Yeah.
Puerto Rican people were so kind to the kids. Everywhere we went, here's a sticker, here's a toy, here's some maraschino cherries from the bar because your kids are getting out of hand in the restaurant.
Very thoughtful.
You know, they've never swam in warm water at the beach before. And it was really a wonderful break for me. Thank you for
That's
covering
great.
for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was
very
awesome.
happy to- I kept my promise, didn't I? Never bothered you once.
No, well, thanks to our new IT team, I actually couldn't access any of my email.
Oh,
so I had
yeah.
a forced vacation.
Yeah.
No, I'm
I
just
do have
kidding.
a
They're
funny-
great.
I do have a funny story about in Puerto Rico. We brought our
Yeah.
little kids. You know, we had to fly home,
Yeah.
so I went, and they were just like, you know, they were nightmares on the plane.
Of course.
So I went to the pharmacist there, and I said, "What can I do? What do you have? You have any kind of over-the-counter drugs I can give my kids to drug them so they'll be quiet on the plane?" And the pharmacist says, "Benadryl."
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's the
okay,
thing.
that was
That's
good.
the
I
thing.
loved
But
it.
one of my lessons learned is, you know, as a single parent, you don't want to be on a flight with 2 toddlers who are sleeping because both of them expect to be carried off of the plane. And I'm
3 in
looking
the
at
morning?
2 sleeping. Yeah, it's like, you know, 1:30 a.m. our time when we
Ugh.
land. And I'm looking at these kids like, how am I going to carry them both off the plane? So I learned some good lessons about, you know, traveling with my kids. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to do it again. It was great. And I also need a real vacation now. So
Yeah,
I'll be taking
yeah.
next week off.
Yeah. You'll be taking next week
Just
off.
kidding.
I didn't know that. Oh, it's good to know. It's fine. I
Just
thought I was
kidding.
taking the week off. Welcome to A Place of Possibility. We are happy to have you here. I am Richard Del Monte.
And I'm Angela Wright.
Thanks for being here with us. So what are we talking about today?
Cash money.
Cash on the barrelhead.
Hey, is cash still king?
Well, it's not really king yet, but it's a rook, let's say.
It's a rook.
Yeah.
I
It's
love it.
moving up. It's moving up. It's definitely something to consider for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So we're talking about what is cash?
Yeah. So, you know, cash is the money in your wallet, the money under your mattress, the stuff my great grandfather had buried in a coffee can in his basement, which we found when he
Or the
died.
backyard. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, cash is kind of starting to pick up. It's a relevant topic because we've all gotten used to earning like nothing in our bank accounts, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, who cares? And we haven't really thought about it. But with inflation on the rise, as you know, it's something that people really need to start thinking about. So
Thank you for that save, by the way. I appreciate that. I missed that whole cue. And she just kind of seamlessly went in there and picked that
We're
up. That
live,
was
folks.
great. Good job.
So yeah, so okay, so it's the cash money, the dollars and cents in your wallet, in you know, the shoebox in your backyard, whatever. It's your checking and savings account, your CD, certificates of deposits, credit unions, bank drafts, money orders. Remember those? They still
Money order.
exist.
That kind of dates you.
Hey, watch it.
You used to go to the liquor store and get
Okay.
money orders, right?
Yes.
Remember
Okay,
that?
let me redeem
And people
myself.
were there like giving them their cash and everything.
Totally. Well, that's
Yeah.
how, if you only had
Yeah.
cash, that's how
Yeah.
you bought.
Yeah.
I mean, I once had a client who worked in cash and, you know, this is like early 2000s, had to go get a money order to deposit money to open his brokerage account.
Wow. That's interesting.
And, you know, like Venmo balances also, let's, you know, get to modern times here. It's also cash equivalents, things easily converted into cash.
Right.
What are the features of cash?
So the features of cash are, where's my notes here? Okay, so it's liquid. It's very liquid. That means it's easily converted into cash dollar bills, you know, and you can put it in your pocket, and that's really the whole thing.
Yeah.
If it's cash equivalent, it'll turn into a dollar bill quickly.
Or
Yeah.
a Venmo balance for you Gen Z folks out
Yeah,
there.
right. Yes, exactly. So the question comes up a lot of times with clients is, well, how much cash do I actually need?
Well, let me be a lawyer for a second and say, it depends.
Well, that was supposed to be my line. Okay, good.
Yeah. So, at home, you have the cash in your house. This is like your emergency go money, your walking around money. And that, really varies from person to person. Some people need $10,000 in a shoebox to feel comfortable, like in case the zombie apocalypse happens, in which case, by the way, cash won't matter, whatever,
Right.
but you never know when you're going to need money. And then other people, like a couple $100 in your wallet for whatever's happening is totally fine. But in terms of, what you put in your savings account, I think more people think about cash on hand as like an emergency fund. Like, what if I have to put a new roof on my house, loan my kids money, I lose my job, I become disabled,
things bad
like
happens to me, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so the rule of thumb is it's not super concrete, but in general, if your income is not super stable, maybe you work in some sort of cyclical business, or you're on commission.
You're a mortgage broker today.
Yeah, or you do contract work, right? Things of that nature, anything tied to the health of the economy. 6 months is a good rule of thumb, cash on hand. If
6 months income, right?
6 months of your expenses, actually, not your income. Because let's think about that. Let's say you have a big, a tragedy happen and suddenly you can't work. You're likely not also saving, right? You're not making those 401k contributions.
True. Okay.
So it's your expenses.
Fair enough.
What do you
Good
need
point.
to live?
Yep.
And then if you have a more stable, like a dual income household where everybody's earning the same amount, or you have a government job, super duper stable, 3 months is a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
And if that seems like a lot to you, there's other options.
Yeah. So for example, some people don't like to have cash because the yields are low, right? Admittedly. And so you can also just have a line of credit on your house set up, a HELOC, home equity line of credit. And you can just have it on the account and you can have it be available in case you need to write a check on it again for an emergency, and you could pay it back later when the emergency ends. So that's another way that you're not tying up money for a low yield.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. What about in my investment account? How much cash?
So your investment accounts, these are the rule of thumb is to have as little as possible in there, but
called an investment account for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, you want it to grow, right? And so, but there are some exceptions, and you definitely want to have what we call money for the dry powder rule. And that is where when the markets go down,
who's dating themselves.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. When you have your cannons in the wall of your house. Yeah. Because you just saw
powder
those,
your
right?
gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Puerto Rico,
right?
we were walking around the forts and stuff, and the kids see big piles of cannonballs in the cannons. And
Yep.
It was super fun trying to explain what those were for, by the way, to a 6 and 3-year-old. Like I had to delve into the concept of war.
Show them Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Anyway, all right. Dry powder rule.
So the dry powder rule. So you actually want to have some money on the sidelines that you can actually take and put into the stock market when it inevitably goes down.
Yeah.
So it's not quite there yet. It's down, like 5% right now. It's probably not a great opportunity, but this could be one of those times potentially. Then if you're super risk averse, some people, objectively you might say, you shouldn't have money getting 0.0 almost, but some people they're subjectively are just really risk intolerant, and they feel really good having a larger amount of money in safe money. So that makes them feel safe to be able to invest more money a little bit more aggressively in other areas.
Makes
so
sense.
That's okay. And then for any upcoming expenses, all right. What do you mean we lost audio?
Technical difficulties.
All right. I think
Did
we're
we-
back.
Okay.
Where did we get lost?
We're back. Okay. Technical difficulties. Thanks
Yeah,
for
well,
staying with
technical.
us.
That's the first time, huh?
Yeah, no. Okay, so let me back up a little bit. So we've talked about you need to hold some cash. How do we get a good rate on that cash? We have 6 options to talk about. Why don't you start with one?
Okay. So the first one, it's not a great option, but this is what we all know and are used to. Savings accounts in our brick and mortar banks downtown, the one on the corner, blah, blah, blah. So those are paying between 0 and 0.01% typically.
0.01.
I actually went to the bank on the websites and looked to see what they're actually paying. And it's 0.01, 0.01% at Wells Fargo, B of A, and Chase.
Oh, nice.
And, so it would take you 100 years to make 1%.
Wow.
Meanwhile, we have inflation at 8.5%.
Yikes.
So you can see that's really risky.
Yeah. All right. So nowadays you have these online savings banks like ally.com or aspiration.com for like the socially responsible investors. And they're doing a little bit better than our brick and mortar banks. Right now, you can earn about 0.5% annually on those accounts. And those rates tick up as interest rates tick up, though not quite as quickly. I mean, they've kind of figured out that they just have to stay slightly ahead of the banks and you'll go ahead and put your money there.
Yeah.
So, 2 years ago, we were getting like 2% at Ally. And, we'll start to see that go back up as rates go
up. But it's slow.
Yeah. And sometimes they even have checking accounts. I saw one where there's a checking paying 0.15%. So even the money that you have for your spending can get a little bit on those online banks. And you don't really need to go to a brick and mortar bank anymore.
I mean, really don't.
I haven't had a Bank of America account in probably 10 years with mobile deposit, with ATMs, with checks, Venmo. It just hasn't been as necessary.
Sometimes if you need like cash to buy a car for a kid or something, that's when I've had to go to the bank because I need like $10,000 in cash
to buy
this kid's a car.
Yeah.
Otherwise, where are you going to go?
Yeah,
you really can't get cash.
Yeah.
So in that case, you probably need to have some kind of a bank relationship, but that's like once in a blue moon.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True.
Otherwise, keep most of your money like we do in places that pay higher yields for sure.
Keep going. What else can we do?
All right. So we did online savings banks. Now CDs in the brick and mortar banks again. I checked this morning and B of A, good old B of A, not to beat on them, but they're paying 0.05% for a 3-year CD, and anything below that is the same.
So I can lock my money up for 3 years and get 0.05%, or I can go to an online bank and get 0.5% with total liquidity.
Right.
Oh, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, with total liquidity, right? Or you can do what we're going to suggest next. And have even better. So we can't afford anymore, especially with inflation at 8%, to be having money sitting there getting 0 and just be like, oh, okay, because we're basically aiding and abetting the banks to rob us. They're basically, they should have black hats and 6 guns and a mask. Because they're stealing money from us.
I think a lot of people don't realize that is a big way that banks make their money. They reinvest the money that you have in cash deposits, and they earn a higher rate than you on that money.
Yeah, they turn around and loan it back to you at credit card rates of 20% plus.
Isn't that fun?
So they're getting you twice.
Yeah.
And then, in the meantime, they're going to charge you. They dare to charge. I'm going to get on my high horse, but they dare to charge you a monthly banking fee to have your checking account there.
Oh, we have one checking account at a bank whose name I won't mention, where every time I want to look at a cleared check, they charge me $3.
No way.
Yeah, way.
Is that us?
Yes, that's our bank account. Yes, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I can't stand that.
I know.
Yeah, I think one thing about blockchain technology is I think it's going to put banks out of business at some point. One can hope, right?
Yeah,
because they deserve it.
They will.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like cutting on our own people, but they're not the same as us.
They're not looking out for. Look at some of the things, the stories about banks. Gosh, They are not looking out for the people.
All right. So how can we do a little bit better than the banks?
Okay, this is where it gets good, folks. So pay attention. This is the good part. Now it's all good though, right? We're good. Yeah.
I mean,
so Treasury bills right now. People have not thought about Treasury bills for a long time. But they are basically shorter term borrowings from the government. So if you loan money to the government at any time over 5 years, it becomes a Treasury bond. Between 5 years and 2 years, it's like a Treasury note. And then anything below 1 year is a Treasury bill. It's the same thing. It's just debt with a different maturity date, right? So you can right now buy, we just checked these this morning. You can get a 3-month Treasury bill yielding 0.8%.
That's awesome.
You can get a 6-month Treasury bill yielding 1.2% annualized now, not just in the little period of time. 9 months is 1.6%, and 1 year, believe it or not, 2.1%. Why are the banks not paying anything near that?
Mhm. And
It's
this is
just they're robbing us.
guaranteed by the government.
Yeah, guaranteed by the full faith and credit of the government. And
Okay, but like with a bank, I can pull my money right back out. What if I have a T-bill and I need to do that?
fair question. So with Treasury bills, you actually have to go to either a government Treasury Direct account, .gov, or you can go to a brokerage place. Like you can go to Schwab, you can go to Fidelity, you can go to Vanguard. Anybody that has, I guess Ameritrade's Schwab, whoever else they are.
Schwab Trade or whatever they're called now.
Schwab Trade, yeah. And you could buy them on the open market there. You buy them on, so there's secondary trade as people have already bought the Treasury bills or the notes from the government before, and they've sold them, and they're on the open market ready to be bought. So if you want to get rid of your Treasury bill that you've already bought before it matures, then you have to sell it. And if you sell it, you could end up losing money or making money, depending on where the market is after that. You have an example?
I got a good example of this.
Good.
Yeah. So some numbers. We got this client, Marty. He bought $111,000. I use a nice even number for you. You're welcome. Of T-bills.
Let me do the calcs now.
It's just a number he needed. So
Yeah.
111,000 went into T-bills on March 23rd at 1.4%. He got a great rate. Today, though, that same bill is paying 2.1%. So if he were to sell, he'd lose $360 of his $111,000 initial investment. Why? Because no person in their right mind would go out and buy a T-bill paying 1.4% when they could go get a fresh one at Treasury Direct for 2.1%.
Right.
So this can also go the other way, right? Let's say that you hold a T-bill and the Fed suddenly lowers interest rates. Now you've got a valuable thing on your hand, right? And the price of that T-bill will go up. So this is like a finance 101 moment. And it's really important to understand the relationship between bonds and interest rates. They are inverse. So every time the Fed raises interest rates, bonds that you currently hold, the price of that bond, the face amount will go down and vice versa.
Right. But if you hold it to maturity, you get your 100% at the end.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So it's only down in the meantime until it matures. At that point, when they mature, the money just goes right back into your Schwab account or your Fidelity account. And then you have the money again to do whatever you want, but the interest is in there as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
unless you're trying to do some, bond arbitrage here, I mean, generally, buy a bond with a maturity date that you can hold and, go from there.
Yeah.
And what about taxes?
Well, you can, there's no state income tax on Treasury bills. They are exempt. You pay federal tax only, but not state tax. And, one of the key strategies is you can do with a laddered maturity approach, right? So if you're not sure when you're going to need money, you could buy some at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. You buy a quarter in each, you're going to get an average yield of probably around 1.5% or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then every 3 months, some comes due. If you need the money, spend it. If not, roll it over and buy another 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Yeah. And it doesn't cost anything to buy these things, believe it or not. The cost of buying, treasuries is zero. They're probably going to make a little teeny amount of profit, but nothing more.
Yeah. That's a good option.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Next option. Yep. Number 5. What do you got?
Number 5, Muni Bonds. So this is where you borrow money from the state that you live in, or a municipality, or the Oakland Coliseum, or
school district.
Vector
control. You can buy mosquito bonds. That's actually a thing.
Yeah, you got those old vector districts they're lifesavers, believe it or not. Yep. Yeah. So those right now, believe it or not, a AAA rated muni bond in California right now is yielding 1.81% for a 1 year period. So that is a really high yield, considering that the treasuries are 2.1, right? It's only 0.3% less than that. And why is that such a big advantage, Angela?
Well, because they're I've got this. They are federally and state tax exempt. So a numerical example here. So let's say you live in California and you're in a high tax bracket, which could be like 54% between federal and state taxes. Getting 1.81% on your bond is equivalent to earning 4% on a taxable account for something that's, basically guaranteed by the
4% or 0.01.
Yeah. It's a really
you can't
great
afford
option.
to sit on the money, folks.
Yeah.
You can't. There's significant opportunities.
Yeah.
Exactly. I hope you're getting that message, because we're trying to drive it home. Okay.
All right. So 6th option, we're kind of going up, traditionally going up the risk scale. Yeah. So, if you want to take on a little bit more risk, you can go into corporate bonds. So,
can I stop 1 second?
Sure.
On the munis, they have, if you get a AAA muni, they're not quite as safe as the federal government because the states aren't allowed to print their own money. So the states could go broke and have problems. If the federal government goes broke and has problems, they're still going to pay you because they just fire up the printing press.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
Yeah, that's just one thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Corporates.
All right, corporates. So, traditionally corporate bonds are going to pay higher interest rate than government bonds because it's a higher risk,
Sure.
but that's not the case right now. So you have treasuries paying you 2.1%, as Richard said, guaranteed. But a AA corporate bond, which is not quite as safe, is only paying 1.97%.
Less.
And yeah. And you got to pay state tax on that.
And
So you're
federal
getting
tax.
even less. So yeah, when you're comparing a treasury versus a corporate right now, the treasuries smoke the corporates.
Yeah.
That said, you really have to keep your eye on this because it changes on a dime. It's really interesting how that works.
Yeah. So quick note on risk. The investment community, as we said, considers U.S. bonds, the safest investments in the world. And so an example of a corporate bond that's super high yield, high quality would be Microsoft, which would be considered AAA. But nobody would really consider that the equivalent of the U.S. government, right?
No.
There's no way. Yeah.
No, yeah.
So PG&E, on the other hand, good old PG&E, the fire starters of the world, are no, sorry, they are rated BB-, which is the lowest level of investment grade. And so they're right one step above junk bond status. They're paying 4.8% for a 7-year bond. So that you can see the difference, 4.8 versus 2.1.
Yeah, they have to incentivize you to buy that bond.
They do,
because
right.
PG&E is a company that could default, right?
Could.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. Right. Yes. And they're also kind of like in this position, like, a class, grade C, investment grade C would be junk status, also called high yield. And then D means default. Like Russia.
Yeah.
Sorry, Putin.
I do feel bad for the Russian people because, most of them didn't ask for this and it is
Not
really
Putin,
too bad. But, corporate bonds sometimes do fail, like Enron, right?
Yeah.
People lost
lots
money.
of them.
Yeah.
Eastman Kodak back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, you can find these, they can be, anywhere from like 1 to 30 years. You can also find them short term. Like, let's say you have 3 months to go and you want to get a higher interest rate and it happens, that they're paying more than treasuries. You can also buy and sell corporate bonds on the secondary market. So you can find one that has like 3 months to go and purchase that if you want to.
But they're not as liquid.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the challenges. There just aren't as many. So when you're up, you got your brokerage account up and you're looking, you've got all these treasury options and you just don't have as many.
One or
in
two
the
corporates.
Yeah. It's just not quite as liquid.
So what happens then if you wanted to go the corporate route, which right now, like as Angela said, is not the best way because the yields are lower, but you could, if you wanted to sell your bond in the market before they matured, you probably would have to pay a little bit more in like the spread between the real price of the bond. And if you're selling, you sell a little bit lower price because the guy who sells it gets a little profit.
Broker who affects the transaction. Everyone's got to get paid.
Not the guy on the street corner, but
the guy scalping tickets.
Yeah.
No.
But the treasuries are so thinly, they're so flush. They're traded so, what's the word I'm trying to come up with?
Frequently. There's a lot of supply.
Yeah. They're the most freely traded thing in the world. The spreads are very, very small. right, we're back.
Okay. More technical
Boy, we are having
difficulties.
some real challenges.
It's
here.
raining. It's tax week.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing wants to cooperate.
All right, FDIC insurance. Federal Deposit Insurance Corp. Started by Franklin D. Roosevelt after the banks. Most of the U.S. banks failed in 1932, and it was meant to restore trust and faith in the banking system. So each account that you have in this day and era is insured for up to $250,000 per owner for each account, and you can get a little bit more insurance on there if you have like a living trust, or you have beneficiaries on the account, like a transfer on death account. Then you can get additional coverage. Yeah.
So like, let's say I have one bank account at Wells Fargo. I have $250,000 of FDIC insurance.
Right.
Let's say I have two bank accounts at Wells Fargo, each for $250,000. I still have $250,000 of FDIC insurance.
Right.
Now let's say I have one at Wells Fargo and one at Schwab.
Yeah, $500,000.
That's
right. Right.
So if you're like a single person, right, and you have a lot of money in the bank, which, rewind and listen to what we just said, but you could spread that among banks and be covered for more of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So how do we get more?
So to get more coverage, you can do a living trust. You can do a transfer on death account. So you can say it's in my name, but if I die, it goes to this person. Now all of a sudden you get $500,000 of insurance.
Because you have two people on it.
People on it. If you want to have like a living trust, so you have like a husband and wife and a living trust with like, say, 3 kids, for example, which is kind of a common number. So each owner trustee has insurance for their 3 children. So that would be $750, right? Mm-hmm. 250 times 3. And then the other owner spouse has his insurance for 750, three times 250. Mm-hmm. But so that would normally be 1.5 million, but there's a catch, because the most you can get is $1.25 million of coverage per account, no matter how many beneficiaries you have, even if you have like 20. Mm-hmm. So basically you have anywhere between 250 and 1.25 million of FDIC insurance per account. Clear as mud, right? Yeah. Sorry.
Well, okay, so that all just confused the heck out of you. You can go to fdic.gov. You can put in your accounts and your owners, and it will actually tell you how much coverage you have. So there's a resource for you there. Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we have any questions from the audience?
On cash, we have a question. It says, what kinds of deposit insurance do Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab offer? That's a good question, because it's not the same as a bank. You want to take it?
It is a good question. Yeah. So for example, if you have an account in your name, like at Fidelity, let's say, and you have a CD in the account, you would get $250,000 of insurance on that.
But what if I have I think they're asking about brokerage. Like
right. I'm going through it. Yeah. So you have that, but you also can go you get another kind of insurance that protects the whole account, and it gives you up to $500,000 of coverage for the account it's called Securities Investor Protection Corp. And that is SIPC insurance, kind of like an acronym that reminds you.
Probably see that on the bottom of your statements.
Yeah. Yeah. And that doesn't protect you from losing money, though. It protects you from
fraud. Yeah.
Crooked employees at Schwab or whatever, or
Russian hackers stealing money out of Schwab, things like that.
Right,
so
Right. And in addition, most of the broker dealers have coverage up to about $100 million on top of that. Private insurance through Aetna or
E&O or malpractice, if you will, kind of insurance.
So you're covered. Yeah. You pretty much have. You're not going to lose money because of malfeasance at a Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard. That's just not going to happen. You might lose money because the assets go down in value, right?
Yeah. That's part of investing.
Okay.
Yeah. Well.
So we hope that is a good reacquaintance with cash and what the options are that are out there for you right now, because they are plentiful, and probably they're going to go higher, I would imagine, this year as rates go up.
Yeah, they should. And that'll be great for investors. It's not all bad things as rates go up. We get scared.
And if you really insist on leaving your money in the bank, don't worry. By the end of the year, you'll be getting 0.02% of interest. It'll be fine, I'm sure. Don't worry. Great. Yeah.
Well, if you have any additional questions about this, please feel free to drop them in the comments. We'd be happy to respond online to you. We have a couple of reminders for you. Yep. So as always, we have an endless inheritance. We will send this to you for free. If you want to know more about transferring your wealth to the next generation and how to do it right, be happy to send this on over.
Book we wrote, actually.
Yes. If you have any questions, you can always write to us at info@aplaceofpossibility.com. If you like to book an appointment with us, you can go to our website, placeofpossibility.com, or if you're watching this online, you can click on the Calendly link that you see there and get a consultation. And yeah, there's show notes available for you if you need them. That's all for now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, you're invested and so are we. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good week. Happy tax day.